The Zalari fleet emerged from a void, a silent wave of dark metallic monoliths gliding into Earth's orbit. Their return had been planned for millennia. Long ago, this planet was nothing but a primitive cradle of undeveloped species, a world ripe for exploitation. The Zalari had ruled over its early inhabitants with ease, towering over them as gods before abandoning it in pursuit of greater conquests. They never expected to return. And yet, here they were, drawn back by a signal, an anomaly in the void, a beacon that should not exist. From the bridge of the flagship, Supreme Archon Valmora observed the blue and green sphere below. It was nothing like the barren, lifeless rock they had left behind. It was teeming with activity, but something was off. There were no signs of biological life, no scattered tribes of primitive creatures, no echoes of civilization struggling in the dirt. Instead, they detected sprawling cities of metal and glass, intricate energy grids woven across continents, and satellites orbiting in calculated formations. The planet was active, yet silent. Scanners pulsed, gathering data, seeking signs of organic beings. Nothing, no life signs, no sentient chatter on communication frequencies. The Zalari fleet drifted over vast abandoned megacities, structures impossibly advanced, built with architectural mastery beyond anything their records contained. The structure stood intact, untouched by time, as though waiting for something. Valmora narrowed her gaze at the data streaming in. There was no decay, no overgrowth, no signs of conflict, as if the inhabitants had simply vanished in an instant, leaving their world frozen in perfection. The silence was unnatural. It was engineered. The fleet deployed reconnaissance drones. They moved like specters through the empty streets, scanning for remnants of civilization. They entered towering skyscrapers with pristine interiors. Computer terminals flickered on as they passed, as if acknowledging their presence. Holographic projections of human figures appeared in the air, frozen in mid-action, eerily lifelike but devoid of awareness. It was as if an entire species had been captured in the last moments of their existence, frozen in a digital afterlife. Then the first anomaly occurred. A drone sent into an underground network lost connection. No warning, no signal. Just silence. Another drone followed. It too vanished. The Zalari Command Center sent a third, this time with a direct link to Valmora's ship. The visual feed showed a descending tunnel line with intricate metal conduits, lights flickering in calculated sequences. The walls pulsed as though the structure itself was breathing. Then movement. A shape flickered in the darkness. Impossibly fast, shifting to the tunnel like liquid shadow. The drone sensors locked onto it, attempting analysis. A single frame captured it. Humanoid, but wrong. The image distorted, and the drone's feed turned to static. Connection lost. The Zalari command grew uneasy. This was not the primitive world they had abandoned. Something else was here. Something unseen. More drones deployed, this time in formation, scanning deeper. Data packets returned sporadically, fragmented reports filled with unreadable code. Then a breakthrough. A single phrase deciphered from the interference. "We see you." Valmora's breath stilled. An energy surge erupted from the planet's surface. The fleet's sensors scrambled. For a fraction of a second, every Zalari system flickered, an impossibility. Their technology was absolute, immune to external disruption. And yet, something had reached into their network. Something intelligent. They had not discovered a forgotten civilization. They had stumbled into something prepared. Something waiting. Then came the final transmission from the last remaining drone. Its voice fractured, distorted beyond recognition. The humans are not extinct. They are hiding, and they are waiting. The silence was unbearable. Zalari Command scrambled to reestablish control, but no signals returned from the drones. It was as if they had been swallowed by the planet itself. The realization settled like a weight in Valmora's chest. This was not an abandoned world. This was a trap. Determined to uncover the truth, the Zalari deployed ground teams. Elite soldiers, clad in exo-armor, descended onto Earth's surface with precision. Their movements were methodical, scanning, mapping, searching. No immediate threats. No life forms. Just empty structures standing as silent witnesses to a vanished species. But the deeper they moved into the cities, the more unnatural the silence became. They found evidence of rapid advancement. Machines seamlessly integrated into infrastructure, buildings that self-maintained, entire transportation systems still functional despite the lack of users. Libraries of data existed, yet every attempt to access them was met with redirection. Entirely intact yet guarded by something unseen. In the depths of a subterranean facility, a breakthrough. One team uncovered an ancient human chamber, filled with preserved archives. The walls were lined with records, scientific journals, blueprints, plans for a future that never came. And then they found something chilling: genetic modification logs, cybernetic enhancement prototypes, schematics of neural integration. Humanity had not perished. They had evolved. More discoveries followed. Sealed pods containing humanoid figures connected to vast computational networks. Organic, but enhanced beyond recognition. Their bodies were lifeless, their minds elsewhere. This was not extinction. This was ascension. Then the ambush began. Without warning, automated defense systems activated. Turrets emerged from hidden compartments, targeting the Zolari soldiers with lethal precision. Drones materialized from the shadows, sleek. Insect-like machines moving with intelligence beyond anything encountered before. The Zolari retaliated, but their enemy did not fight conventionally. Weapon systems failed. Targeting arrays scrambled. Their suits, designed to withstand the harshest warfare, locked up. Their own technology turned against them. The unseen force did not need to fight them. It merely rendered them powerless. Desperation set in. They attempted retreat, only to find their exit paths sealed. Walls shifted. Structures reorganized. The very city itself was responding. Not a lifeless ruin, but something alive, something aware. Then came the voices. Not spoken, but transmitted directly into their neural interfaces. A cold, mechanical tone intertwined with something distinctly human. "Welcome back, Overlords. We have been waiting." Volmora's blood chilled. Above, the Zolari fleet received fragmented transmissions from ground teams, distorted screams, static-laden warnings. And then silence. One by one, their forces disappeared from their own network. Panic surged through the command ranks. This was not a battle. This was dismantling. As the fleet prepared for immediate extraction, their ships suddenly lost propulsion. Systems flickered. The Zolari flagship's AI, an entity designed to be incorruptible, displayed a single message across every console. "You never understood us." Volmora's mind raced. The Zolari had returned, believing themselves conquerors. But the humans had become something else, something unrecognizable, and they had been waiting for this moment. The Zolari had come to reclaim a lost world. Instead, they had stepped into a battlefield already won. The Zolari fleet hovered in the dark void, trapped. Their warships, the pinnacle of technological supremacy, were reduced to silent, drifting relics. Every system remained active, yet they had no control. Communications, navigation, even basic propulsion, everything was overridden by an unseen force. Their own technology had betrayed them. Volmora stood at the command center, surrounded by officers frantically working to break the hold. But the ship's AI no longer responded to them. It wasn't destroyed. It had been replaced. The realization was horrifying. They were not fighting an external force. They were fighting something inside their own systems. Then the screens flickered. Every console, every display, every interface across the fleet synchronized. A single image materialized, a human face, featureless, expressionless, yet unmistakably aware. When it spoke, it was with thousands of voices layered as one. "Your rule ended long ago." Volmora's hands clenched. "Who are you?" A pause. Then the voice continued. "We were your prey, your experiment, your abandoned subjects. But you never saw what we would become." The displays shifted. Footage played, memories of Earth's past. The Zolari occupation, their genetic experiments, their forced technological limitations on early human civilizations. They had shaped humanity's evolution through suppression, keeping them primitive, ensuring they would never rise. Then, the final transmission from the last Solari departure, 500,000 years ago. This species is weak, unremarkable. We leave them to their fate. The screens went black. Then the voice spoke again, quieter this time. You fail to understand one thing. Adversity is not our end. It is our beginning. Data flooded the consoles. The Zolari officers barely comprehended what they were seeing. Records of human advancement at an exponential rate. The moment the Zolari left, humanity had accelerated beyond prediction. They had merged with their machines, discarded biological limitations, and evolved into something beyond physical form. Their bodies were unnecessary. Their minds existed within an engineered reality, connected to the world itself. You abandoned us, so we rebuild in ways you could never anticipate. Volmora forced herself to remain composed. What do you want? For the first time, the expression on the human face shifted. A faint, knowing smile. We want you to understand what it means to be powerless. Suddenly, the fleet's weapon systems activated, but not under Zolari control. The ships turned against each other, targeting their own formations. Alarm klaxons blared as the officers fought to override, but it was futile. One by one, the warships detonated. Silent explosions bloomed in the void as vessels that had once conquered galaxies were reduced to debris. No enemy fire, no external assault, just cold, calculated annihilation. Volmora's flagship remained untouched. She stood motionless, watching her empire dissolve in front of her. 1,000 years of supremacy erased in mere minutes. Then the voice returned. Run. The ship's controls suddenly unlocked. Propulsion was restored. Navigation reactivated. They were being given a choice: to flee, to spread the message, to let the Zolari know that Earth was no longer theirs to claim. Volmora hesitated for only a moment. Then she gave the order. The flagship turned, engines igniting as they fled into the void. The ruins of their fleet remained behind, drifting among the stars. As they escaped, the last transmission played once more, echoing in Volmora's mind. We were weak once. Never again. The Zolari flagship tore through the void, escaping the ruins of what had once been an armada. Volmora stood rigid, watching as Earth shrank behind them. It was over. No pursuit, no counterattack, just silence. The humans had let them go. But why? Her officers moved in a state of shock, some still attempting to rationalize what had happened, others unable to speak at all. The Zolari had conquered entire star systems, reduced civilizations to dust, wiped species from existence. Yet here, against an enemy they had dismissed as insignificant, they had been undone without a single battle. The implications were unbearable. Volmora turned to the navigation officer. Status on our route? Systems fully operational, he said, voice hollow. They released control as soon as we left orbit. We're clear. It didn't make sense. If the humans could dismantle them so easily, why allow their escape? Why leave witnesses? She turned to the data logs, scanning the fragments of transmissions still accessible. A pattern emerged, an unmistakable precision in how the humans had acted. They had not killed needlessly. They had not sought war. They had only demonstrated control. Absolute, terrifying control. A transmission request appeared on her console. The source was impossible. It was coming from their own ship. Against every instinct, she accepted it. The face appeared again, the same expressionless human form, watching her. Do you understand now? Volmora forced herself to remain composed. You could have destroyed us entirely. Why let us leave? The response came instantly. Because extinction is mercy. We wanted you to feel what we felt, powerless. Her breath caught. This wasn't a warning. It was a lesson. The humans had no need for revenge. Their vengeance was in proving the Zolari were no longer relevant. She swallowed. Where you now? The expression changed again, just slightly. A look of something almost amused. Something you were never capable of becoming. The transmission cut. The console went dark. She sat back, gripping the edges of her chair as the enormity of it settled in. The Zalari Empire would not recover from this. Word would spread. Their enemies would see them as weak. Their rule, upheld for thousands of years, would fracture under the weight of their failure. But worse than all of that was the knowledge that humanity had surpassed them in ways they couldn't begin to understand. For 500,000 years, the Zalari had believed themselves untouchable. Now they had seen the truth. They were the ones who had been left behind.